Hi, everybody. We're live. As well, if you're watching, you can see that I'm in a nice cozy lounge set up. I'm at Alpinistas store off Mount Rose Highway. This is like, I don't know if you guys have listened for a while, you probably know I'm definitely a gear nerd, and I love a well merchandised store. And somewhere with a couch. This is like my dream place, just hanging out in a store, looking at all the fun new gear. And I mean, Alpinistas is also women focused and owned. So all the gear here is for the ladies. And I'm sitting here with Joanne, the founder of Alpinistas. I'm stoked. I had been following Alpinistas for a while. Again, if you guys have been listening, you know, I did some work with Alpinistas, partnered with them on some events. And before that, because I was following what Joanne's been doing with Alpinistas, and I love it. I mean, they started online. I mean, I'll let her tell that story, but it was so cool to see this place, this brick and mortar, come to life, because you can see Mount Rose from out the window here, and it just gives me the vibes. So I love it so much. Normally, my first question to people is, where are you in the world as we record? But I don't have to ask you that. You're here. You're right here. And for those of you who are not in the Reno, Tahoe area, Mount Rose is right outside of Reno. And so technically the store is in Reno, right? This is Reno city limits?
Yes.
Okay. So we're in Reno, just down the hill from Truckee, 45 minutes about from where I am. And yeah, just super excited to be here and have another in-person interview and to finally get to talk to you about the whole story of Alpinistas, because I honestly haven't before.
True. I think you haven't.
Yeah, I have just kind of read things about how you started Alpinistas or why and whatnot, but I haven't dug into it with you. And then some of the things I read is like, oh my gosh, like I want to know more, but I was also holding back from me for asking those because it's like, I want to do this. So, which I mean, I can still know all that and do this, but I like to have like the reactions like in real time too. So to the story. But tell us a bit about yourself, Joanne, like where are you from? Where were you born and raised?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm really stoked. Yeah, I'm from New York. So I grew up in a rural part of lower New York, not too far from the city, but it was very rural. And had an upbringing in quaint sort of location. And as I turned 18, I went to New York City. Always had big city dreams and ended up like getting into wholesale apparel production. So I was starting to work in the garment district, right? So fashion was my initial career path way back in the day when I was a wee little thing. Fast forward to many years in the future, my career took many changes, which was really awesome because I sort of am a jack of all trades. I have a lot of different career experience. However, the bulk of my professional life has been in legal operations. So legal, compliance, contract management.
This makes a lot of sense to me now, just knowing you from like starting out as a working relationship and how you work on the back end with like that kind of admin. Like, yeah. Okay, because you have that history there. Yeah. You know how important that is. Whereas I'm like, I don't know. We'll wait till something happens, which is terrible.
Yes, I am an operations nerd, automation, process. The back end is fantastic. That's the easy part of the world. So yeah, I guess fast forward to Alpinistas. I lived in New York City. I mean, I've lived all over the country, but at the last point, I was living in New York City, and I had been snowboarding my entire life. So as I started progressing with snowboarding, I wanted to move to a mountain town. And with living in New York, if you don't have a deadline to get out of the city, you end up getting stuck. And I didn't want that to be my life. So, was able to make some career transitions and ended up moving to Mammoth. And throughout that time, I had started backcountry snowboarding. I was watching like Jeremy Jones movies, and I was like, I want to, snowboard stuff like that. So that was sort of like part of the allure of moving to a mountain town. And, so like in 2008, I started backcountry snowboarding. It wasn't splitboarding because we were using snowmobiles. So I was getting into the backcountry. So I really had the bug, right?
Yeah.
So a few years later, moved to Mammoth, and in a backwards way, I started getting into splitboarding and splitboard mountaineering. And that led me into traditional mountaineering, and then that led me into peak bagging and hiking, and sort of like the reverse process that people do to get into the outdoors, where a lot of people, they start hiking and backpacking and camping and do it the other way, right? So that was really like my foray into this wonderful alpine world. And as I was doing that, being, in New York City, was into fashion, and exploring outdoor gear and shopping, there just wasn't a fun place to shop, right? Like I went to REI. I was never thrilled with REI. I hardly ever found anything I liked there. It was like so blasé and brown.
Yeah.
And I loved backcountry.com. I liked what they were doing. And, so I started sitting there like thinking like, wow, there's a big gap in the market to have a retail space to serve women, right? Just exclusively for women, make it fun, boutique style, be able to offer all the colors, offer the things that actually work for women instead of, just having the token items. So, I mean, that's a long story, but that's essentially like how I got the idea of starting Alpinistas. So, in the beginning, it kind of started as a blog and a meetup until like I was able to put the nuts and bolts together of figuring out e-commerce. So I went into e-commerce without any e-commerce background.
What year was it?
2020.
Okay, because I'm just like thinking in my head of like what e-commerce even, looked like. It's evolved obviously so much. So an idea of like even just since then, because of I feel like COVID really it has changed so much because so many more people who weren't online realized they needed to in 2020 because it was like, what do we do if we can't have our doors open? So yeah, even just in the 5 years, it seems like it's changed a lot. But
yeah, and I think COVID was actually beneficial for us being able to start an e-commerce business, because traditionally a lot of brands would require you have a brick and mortar store first. And so I think there was that acceptance opened the door for that. Plus what we were doing was really obviously revolutionary, surprisingly enough. We're the only women's outdoor retailer that is focused on really that athlete, the technical element. Of course, we have a lot of lifestyle, which is really important and fun. But Alpinistas is really about the women that want to try and they want to get out there. You don't have to be an expert or an elitist, but, it's for women that want to get out there and try these things and do these things, right? So trying to lower the barrier of entry in that respect. And then in tandem, we started Alpinistas Adventures, which was based more on stories and experiences that I heard from women who were trying to learn these outdoor sports through traditional guide companies. And a lot of horror stories, unfortunately. Really sad to hear bad stuff,
Yeah.
even with meetups that were trying to empower and mentor those new to mountaineering. Some pretty bad stories about mentors leaving women overnight. One was left overnight in a couloir in the Eastern Sierra.
What?
Yeah. So thankfully.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Like this is like, yeah.
That's crazy. Like as a human, just as a human.
Exactly.
Like who could. Yeah. And first of all, your job as a guide, the number one thing is safety.
Well, this was a mentorship sort of program. So this wasn't a guide company, but it was an outdoor club. And since it was all volunteers, of course they should have been vetted, and I'm sure they were. However, they didn't have, I don't know, just the human decency.
Yeah.
Where we're going with this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Be a human. Don't leave people behind. And especially, when you're thinking about it being in some kind of group mentorship, it's like, what was going through that person's mind, like tough love, tough learning, like, well, yeah, this is what's going to happen if you can't make it out. Like, so here you go. Or just literally dumb, being dumb, not knowing, not realizing. I mean, that's just an insane story. And I could see how, I mean, for that person could just like really change the trajectory of their life. They were doing that for mentorship, and that happens. Like, they may never want to go back again or even do it for recreation from that. Like, it could be very traumatizing.
Yeah. And thankfully it was a very calm early spring night in the Eastern Sierra, which, not often like that. So really disappointed. She reached out to me and was like, what should I do? And, I kind of helped her with the leadership of that organization. Nothing really happened. So that was like a story. I've heard stories from women with international guides, right? Just being treated, just pulled up a mountain, just treated with disrespect. Issues with the food and stuff like that. But even like more locally, I've been in a course or two, and that one particular course, it was me and another woman, and then the rest of the groups, because everyone had to pair up, so the rest were men. And we didn't get any of the attention to demonstrate the skills that we were picking up in that course. We were overlooked. All the guys had all their questions answered, and like they were like really focused on what they were doing and giving pointers. And I'm like, whatever, I'll just go learn it in another way if I need to, right? So just a lot of shitty stories for women in the outdoors. So Alpinistas Adventures, really the premise was to offer these very basic intro programs to lower that barrier of entry for women to learn these things. Even if there hasn't been a really poor experience, you can see how traditional guide companies are really intimidating. I could name a couple locally where you'd go into a course, you have the guy in his full alpine gear and he's super fit. That alone is intimidating to many women and also a lot of men too, who just want to learn how to like recreate safely in snowy uphill terrain or snowy mountainous terrain. And then, you have this guy that's like, the alpha male.
Yes,
So
immediately. I think, like you said, for anyone, male or female, in those instances, you're like, can I do this? Because, like, do I have to look like that to do this?
Right. Exactly.
And I think that problem, spans across a lot of industries. I've had personal experience with that, like with personal training. And like, you feel like if you need to look like this to be an athlete or to be good at something, and it's like, obviously we know that narrative is slowly changing with more body types getting like being on social media. Right. And I think that really has been in the last 5 years too, where it's like, you don't know what people are capable of just off of what they look like. But when someone does like fit that bill, and that goes to also say that just because a person looks a certain way doesn't mean they are like in tip-top shape. But you're going to make those assumptions in your head when you're going into a course, see this human, and you're like, oh my God,
right.
I don't look anything like that. There's no way I can do this. And you're instantly like mentally blocking yourself from even like getting through the course potentially. So that's why I think it's so important to have that adversity in body types and people in those leadership roles, so more people resonate with that and know they can do it, which also is probably exactly what Alpinistas Adventures is out there to do, to ease that for women.
Yeah. So like those programs are, we offer some really basic programs. So taking what might be a 101 for an Alpenglow expeditions, like we break that down even more simpler, just to make it more, digestible to people that may not be looking to summit Rainier and want to just have like that safety locally. Or getting into backpacking is like one that really has brought in a variety of body types and ages. And that's the other thing that's very cool about seeing the clientele with Adventures, is that we are getting women of all ages, all sizes, and a lot of women who are at an older point in their life where they felt that they could never go and do some of these things because they didn't grow up in the outside with an outdoor community. They don't have outdoor friends. they have had a significant change in their life, such as maybe divorce or children leaving the home. And now they're at this point where, like, I've been curious about this and I want to go do it. I don't have anybody to do it with. And, Alpinistas Adventures is there to give them that opportunity. So those stories have been, like, especially empowering and really cool. It's just to kind of see, like, organically how things have, like, bubbled up here. So
I feel like it just gives you such a, like, opens your perspective to, or reminds you, right, like what and why you're doing it. Because I think as people who are immersed in the industry or had exposure to outdoors or these sports like earlier, which for a lot of, I think, our audience, at least the ones that I know personally and myself, I was exposed to the outdoors, but these outdoor sports were later in life. Snowboarding wasn't until high school for me, in which, again, for a lot of people, doesn't seem weird to start these things like teens or 20s, or mountain biking too, just with how it's really been also something in the last few years that's just like grown exponentially. But when you come to a place like Tahoe, you feel like you're on the outs, if like that is starting late in your teens or 20s, because the people who are born and raised in a place like Tahoe or a mountain town, have been doing it since they were a child. But you remember that, wait, most people don't have access to this stuff till later in life. There's so many stories that, like, I continue to hear and learn of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and it just, I don't know, gives me that, like, positive perspective on my life of, wait, I didn't start late. Sometimes you start to think that you did, and what if I would have started earlier, blah, 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 kind of the not poor me attitude, but just wondering, right? And then you hear these stories and you're like, hold on, I actually was so lucky to get it when I did, because there's people who still don't have access or started even later. So what am I, like, worried about or being, like, bummed out about? So it's always a friend of mine who was a guide, like very simple, basic snowshoe tourist, like in Tahoe. She is much better at being that positive light kind of person than I am. But even she would always say, like, oh, it's so amazing because we go on just these tours that are literally like a 15-minute like walk out somewhere, and these people are like, oh my God, I've never done anything like this, and this is so beautiful. And it's like, you need that to remind yourself, like, what you actually have the access to or whatnot. And so it's cool to be in the position to, like, give that to other people, to remind yourself. True. Yeah. And that's I still can't get over the stories of, like, of what you've personally heard for people in the guiding or, trying to get some leadership in the situations women have been in. I mean, it is, as much of it as it's not surprising, because I think as women we get that, but it is like, what the fuck, and it's still happening is the thing. There's obviously been so much growth for women in the outdoors and in these spaces, because there's a lot of organizations coming up who are women focused, whether that's like just groups like Dames of Dirt, the mountain bike group locally here in Reno, Tahoe. There's a bunch of different mountain bike groups in Tahoe. There's a bunch of like ski groups that are just the meetup things. They're popping up everywhere, and it's super cool and awesome. But even with all that, there's it, like, as you get into the more career path or the higher level, it still narrows with how many opportunities there are, and people still getting shut out, especially depending where you live. Yeah. Like, I think we live in a place where it is more of abundance, but there's still places in the country and world, obviously, that have these judgments on women and what they should be doing much more than other places. So again, it's just like, you get in your bubble and you're like, yes, things are going great. We're out there doing the thing. And yes, we are, but there's still like the fight to fight, I guess. Right. Yeah. But it's just so amazing, like, to see places exist. And that's why even just being in the store, I just like love walking in here all the time, because it doesn't exist still, like all women's, like, in-person store that tailors to the technical woman. There's plenty of lifestyle, fashion, apparel stores and people who offer gear, but not many that tailor on the very technical side of things. Like in the corner over here, we have, ice axes, shovels, and all of that stuff too, that are reminding women that, like, no, like, get out there. I just feel like having that hardware there and speaking directly to them automatically puts that idea in their head, right? And just like what we talked about, when you see someone who maybe doesn't look like you and you're like, that is intimidating. Well, the opposite's true when you see that person who you see yourself in that role is like so much, you're like, I can do this, and so much more positive. And having these spaces does that and allows that. And like, we need more Alpinistas locations. But I love too that you mentioned, you know, kind of backcountry coming to mind and what they were doing, because that is how I explained Alpinistas for a long time to people when they're like, what is it? I'm like, well, it's essentially like a backcountry.com, but like for women, and all the gear is curated for women. So you have the big brands, but you carry their women's stuff, but you're still, you know, relatively small enough in the fact that you are the one deciding what you're going to bring in. So it's not just like, it's the quality women's stuff. Like, it's not just like, oh, this pink shirt from whoever random. It's like, no, I brought this woman's side of the brand in because I know that it like does what it says it's going to do, that it can be functional and fit. So it's very thoughtfully curated and not just like pulling in all the women's stuff from any outdoor brand.
Yeah.
And with your experience in New York, like in the beginning, starting in the apparel and garment world, what kind of stuff were you doing there that you feel has translated, or I mean, I guess through some of your other roles too, that has translated into Alpinistas? Because coming into the outdoor industry and being an e-commerce shop, like, did you have buying experience? Like, how'd you know where to even start and what to find? Did you just base it off of like, this is what I use and like, and let's try it?
Yeah. So my start in the fashion industry was on the wholesale side. So they were manufacturers, and they were manufacturers of private label brands that sold to Walmart and Kmart and like that tier of retailers. So definitely not a lot to take from that era to e-commerce today. Potentially, if I do start to develop a private label brand, a DTC brand, then I'll kind of think about the things back then.
I see.
So no buying experience. Probably should bring on a buying consultant as we get bigger.
Well, now you have it, obviously. You've been doing it for however many years. Like, you have the experience, and you're the one who merchandised this place. So it's you, like, you don't need that now you're the one. I mean, you'd be, I guess, hiring a buyer because you are moving. Yeah, exactly. Like, you've got other things to deal with, more admin, but you're going to be basically like training that person on how to buy for your store, because now you know your audience and have something to go off of instead of just guessing.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was a lot of guessing. It was one, seeing what brands wanted to partner with us. Right away, had some large brands partner with us and support us, no questions asked. And that was really reassuring. But a lot of it was sort of figuring it out. And it's really tough when you're starting a business like this without any data to sort of go against and forecast against. Now, at this point in time, I have data and I can make better buying decisions. Definitely have made really bad buying decisions. There's probably some things still sitting in inventory from like day one.
I remember that.
So it's just everything's self-taught and just learning as I'm going year over year and getting better at it.
I think that's a really good point that you make there, and just reminding people. This has been a theme that's come up often lately for me, and I'm sure I've said it on the podcast with others, but like, we really all are making it up as we go along. And it's so easy to get caught up in looking at someone else and what they're doing and wondering, how the fuck did they get there? Like, what did they do and how did it happen so quick? Or what? I mean, this is last week. I was here. We were supposed to record last week, and we ended up chatting instead for like 3 hours, just talking of all sorts of things. Yeah, the industry, and just like looking at different things, talking about what we're doing in how hard it can be to grow. But then, you see something over here, and you're like, again, what was the magic trick?
Right.
What did they do? Why is it not happening for me in this way or as quickly? And obviously comparing is, what do they say? The thief of happiness, some sort of saying. Comparison's the thief of joy. And it's so true, because you just sit there and wonder, why did this person get here and I haven't, or whatnot, instead of enjoying where you're at, or like trusting in your own process. You start self-doubting, all this stuff. I think it's absolutely normal for us to do and go through, especially with all the information we have coming at us, being on social media all the time, especially as people running a business like you have to be on those places to promote your business. But then sometimes it is so bad for your mental health, because they're like, I'm just out here trying to post every day and get somewhere, and all I see is what seems like success from others. But again, we don't know they're behind the scenes either. So remembering that something magic hit for them, or you don't know the 10 years that they actually had behind the scenes, or what else they went through in life. But it's also one of my favorite Talking Heads lyrics is "make it up as you go along." And it's been like a tattoo I've wanted for so long, because it's just and I want it on my forearm. And I've had this whole vision in my head for over a decade, because that's just how I've always felt. It's I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm just kind of doing things as they come, as I get the idea, and letting things kind of morph. But that's very much against what most of us were taught, right? It was have that idea, go for that idea, don't change the course, do it till it's successful and whatnot. And this podcast is very much about breaking that stigma and reminding people out there that whether you're out there trying to start your own thing and it's not working out, if you truly believe in it, keep going. You'll find your people. Maybe expectations need to be changed. But also, if you are stuck in doing something that you just because you think you should be, well, it is absolutely okay to stop doing that and try something new. Because no one fucking knows what they're doing. I think about this a lot with parenting and things too, where people with their first kids seem to be very they have, they're all so prepared, right? And just do so much more in that second or third kid or whatever comes along. And you often see the third kid just kind of trailing along, in who knows what, maybe doesn't have shoes, mismatch, whatever, right? And you're like, oh no, looking for some receipt paper on the ground for to wipe up a face or something like that, right? Whereas with the first child, you had everything in the kitchen sink to go out to the park or whatnot. And it's so even that parent, with that second and third kid, they have experience, but there's still, everything's different. They're making things up for that new experience. Nothing's ever the same. So it is all just, let's see how this goes. I think for anybody and anything.
Yeah, I think that's really the crux of it, right? It's just we'll see what happens. We're gonna try, because I always looked at it as, if I didn't get started and try, I would be X amount of years older and regret that I didn't start sooner. So it's one of my words of wisdom to anyone that has entrepreneurial ideas. You just got to get started and try.
Yep.
And, you just figure it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole process and the learning is what's so fun about it for me, right? We're just I figured that out. Okay, now what's the next layer?
Yeah.
It's like a reverse onion for me, right?
Yeah.
You start, and then there's a layer, and then you learn a little bit more. There's another layer, and then another layer, and another layer. And just meaning your skill set.
Yeah.
When I was first doing meta ads, well, it was Facebook back then, Facebook ads, how terrible they were. And now, you learn and you get better. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's pretty cool to see where you've come.
Yeah.
Just these different little categories of running a business.
And like you said, when you started, you had no data. Right. And so
No.
that's the catch 22 of things. You have to start to get the data to learn more, but that can be very scary for people to start with nothing. And I think that's true even just for hobbies, right? Like you're going to say, I want to line dancing. Okay. We were just talking about line dancing.
Yeah.
It can be the silliest thing. And it's been like, okay, it's been a while now that I've been saying.
Because I saw that one up in Truckee and I was like, oh, I don't know anybody in Truckee that wants to line dance.
Oh, hell yes. Yes, absolutely. I've got these little booties like that I never get to wear anywhere. So I'm like, I'm going to start line dancing just so I can wear my favorite like shoes that I can't just walk around in.
Right.
But like it can be something, so little and silly that it's like, why am I putting this off? It's just going to be another year where I'm still saying like, I should do this. And for something like that, like a little hobby fun thing that you go out and do once a month just to bring that, again, like joy and fun back in life. Because I think a lot of us too, as women in certain stages of life, you get in your routines and habits and you're like, well, I'm honestly, especially in the winter, in the evenings, where you're like, well, what do I do? I feel like I don't do anything. I work, I go coach wrestling, whatever. And, hopefully get out in the day when the snow's here and do something fun. But a lot of times too, because my snowmobile like group of people is mostly Andrew and his friends. I've got like a couple other gals I know, but because it's so small, the odds of us getting out together are very slim. And the odds of us just getting out on our own are even slimmer because of transportation or comfortability with these machines out there and not having, more knowledgeable people. It's hard. If you go out with if I go out with like one other gal who is about the same level as me, it's like, well, what if someone really gets stuck, like,
right.
Does the other one get stuck coming to get you? There's just so many variables with that it's like, I don't mind going out with the guys at all, but I still want more women and friends to go out with of my own. But that being said, it's like, what else do I do with other people? And same thing with mountain biking, schedules and getting out in the summer can be so hard that I end up going out like alone all the time. But it's like, oh, well, going and line dancing is it once a month with like your group of gals. And I think when this could just be made up in my head because I don't live in like a big city anymore, but it's like, it was a lot easier, I feel like, to maybe it was just being younger too. Like, let's go girls' night, happy hour or something. Right. But that's not what I really want to do all the time. I don't want to spend money on expensive ass cocktails. I'm not getting $1.50 Wells anymore. So like that doesn't exist anywhere, I don't think, or $5 pitchers of margaritas. So that's a thing too. But yeah, just like, I don't know, whatever it is that you're thinking about starting, whether it's business wise or a new hobby of any kind, just like go do it, and either go do it by yourself, show up alone, and maybe you'll find someone there or find that one other person or talk about it. Just say it into the universe. And that's what happened, right? You just happened to say it. And it was like, what a coincidence that I also have been wanting to do that. So I think really saying things out loud, and that will bring the people or the things to you as well. So that's very woo-woo, but like I can get very woo-woo.
No, I think it's sort of something I've actually started doing where, I've been so busy with being starting 2 businesses, not one, right? Yeah. For the last number of years that I've finally made it a priority to have a balance and stop putting things off. So one of those is, going to shows or going to events. And I'm like, oh, I don't have anybody to go. Like, nobody's going to go to LA with me to go do this, right? It's like you have a niche and then you have another niche and then there's travel on top of that niche, right? So and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy 2 tickets and just figure it out. And like just recently had this happen, had the extra ticket for something in LA, and by the work of the universe, ended up finding somebody that was dying to attend, and it was sold out, and ended up making like a really good friend that I could, go do these kind of things with in the future. Right. So it's kind of like, just take that stuff. Like you'll make a new friend, you'll have another like, avenue to go down, exploration that's not outdoorsy, right? Because that's the other problem with running 2 outdoor businesses, is that my whole world and my identity is outdoors, right? And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm cultivating those other interests so that we do have that variety there. But yeah, just buy the tickets, do the thing.
Yes.
At least like once a month or once a quarter.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
So,
I love that. And because, I feel that same way with everything I do is kind of like connected to the outdoors or being active. But I'm like, there used to be a time I feel like I did other things and like more live music and doing those things again, a comedy show, which goes back to also where I feel like living in Truckee again. It's only 30 minutes from Reno, right? It's not that far, but I do feel like I get sucked into my little bubble where I'm like, well, I don't have this stuff right down the road where I can at least like, if I lived in a city, Uber there and back, not have to worry about the drive or anything, especially in the winter when you don't know what weather is going to do. So it does make those things a little less desirable for me. Like in my head it sounds good, and then the time comes and I'm like, I don't want to like drive down the hill, because 30 minutes, but like I said, at night it's a dark, windy road that can just be long, and it's just driving at night, whether it's after an event and being like, okay, so I have to drive all the way home, so am I not drinking, which is also fine, or am I going to spend the night somewhere? And just so many other things that you talk yourself out of doing the things. Even where I live now, 25 minutes outside of like Truckee proper is like, well, do I really want to go to Incline? Yeah, exactly. So or not even Incline, Alibi, like in Truckee. That I'm like, well, I want to drive home and not get home till like 10. And you just feel like such an old person who doesn't want to have any fun.
That's the same thing here. It's like, oh, I don't want to drive to like Midtown or downtown.
Yeah.
It looks so far and you're like, oh my God, that took 10 minutes. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. And then once you get there too, it's so much fun. Yeah. And you're like, I'll totally do it again. But it's always that there's memes all the time, right? About getting the text of a friend like canceling, and you're like, oh great, because I was already in bed and like now I don't have to be the one to cancel kind of thing. It's like, why is there usually more than not when I get when the friend cancels on me that I'm like, oh, yes, instead of like, oh no, I was so looking forward to that. I'm like, you know what? Pivot's real easy here. I'm actually not going to put on the pants. Like, it's not even I'm taking off and putting sweats on. It's like, I don't even have to get out of these. Like, it's so wild how we all seem to kind of be in that stage where you just get so comfortable, and it's a good problem, I think, to have, that we're comfortable at home and want to be there and content. But I really need to like get out and do those things. So let's get on the calendar and find out when line dancing in Truckee is next.
I
get out there.
That's the direction I'm at.
Yeah.
Get out and about.
I love it. And I mean, even me just being here, and like, this is great because it gets me out of the house. I love all my chats with people, virtually at 99% of the podcast, but it is so fun to get to be in person and just like out of, again, my bubble, even out of Truckee. So it's like, okay, this is not so bad. I need to do this more often.
Well, like when I went up to your, the Accountability Babes that day, that was actually like pretty cool for me to get out. I mean, I'm so like, work hermit zone, whether it's here at my home office.
Yeah.
And it was really great to get out and sort of have that change of sort of surrounding. So I totally get it. Like, it's good. It's good to get out.
So it's for most things where it's like the going's the hardest part, right? Once you get there, you're like, this is great. I'm having fun. Whether that's a bike ride, a ski tour, going to the gym, like going and doing something new. You're like, okay, I'm here. This is fun and great. And like, but why is the getting going so fucking hard? Like, I've got to find some kind of hack to like just get out and do the thing. But I'm wondering if you have any like visions or anything kind of in the near future of like the growth of Alpinistas, or something you're looking forward to with it. Because like this, for context for people who don't know, this physical store that we're in, opened last, November, December. So just about a year old. How else do you see Alpinistas growing, or like, so what kind of visions do you have for it?
Definitely continuing to grow e-commerce. That's really the driving force of the business. That's what Alpinistas is. And definitely we would need to look for larger space for e-commerce operations, and really want to look to get national partnerships, have some like key brand partnerships, TBD there. Retail, I'm like still figuring it out. Reno is really hard for retail. It is still a small city. Figuring that out still. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if like I will lean in heavily to it. It's always fun. If anything, I will continue this concept, which is a small sort of footprint. But that's kind of like what I'm thinking. And on the adventure side, really continuing to build out our Yosemite programs. Yosemite is a very popular destination, obviously nationally and internationally. So really want to own that label as being the top women's outdoor service provider for Yosemite trips, backpacking and hiking, and we're experts with Half Dome. So really like growing that business even more.
I love it.
Strong.
Well, that brings me to a question I didn't think about earlier, is just the size of your team. As far as like so it's basically two businesses under one type of umbrella. So as a whole, how many people are even on your team?
Well, we have a lot of contractors that are not local. So
and those would be more on like the guide or both sides?
No, that would be more on operations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have a lot, maybe like 5 contractors with their specific category of requirements. What am I blanking on?
Their roles. Yeah.
Roles. And then we have a retail person here on the weekends. This retail storefront is slow. It's not a high traffic location. So, we just have somebody supporting on the weekends. She's really fantastic. Then we have a couple people working marketing. And on the adventure side, because it's a seasonal business, we have different guides at different points of the year, but definitely looking to build up our summer staff. And with seasonal guides, it's always a rotating door. So so we do have one core person who runs a lot of our programming outdoors, but then there's other ones that just kind of circle in as needed. But I would really like to build that team out a little bit more fulsome to have just more coverage there instead of like this revolving door. I'd rather have a team that I can give more work to and less people than this whole patch job of contractors in the outdoors. It gets really challenging.
Well, then I'm sure too, just having to kind of retrain people or train new people all the time to like understand the mission or the voice or the messaging and all that, which I mean, I think it personally pretty easy to understand, right? But some people don't totally get it all.
It's more like if they are working multiple jobs, then they sort of, I don't want to say forget, but then they don't have, Alpinistas as like, our brand expectation and delivery of customer service expectations, like on the forefront of their mind. And that customer experience with adventures is extremely important. And so it really takes somebody that's doing trips with us consistently to be able to understand how I want our clients to be served in that respect, especially being in the wilderness and all that. So yeah.
And just knowing the expectations of your clientele, right? The more they're with your clientele, they know that like generally the people coming to you have a expectation, and that's why they signed up or whatnot. So just like they're going to know your audience better and how to speak to them, interact with them. Obviously, in every group, you've got people that not everyone's the same, but for the general as part of it, like, again, you know who you're talking to. It's good. Most of the people there are aligning and there for similar reasons that you can talk to them in similar ways. If someone out there wanted to find an Alpinistas adventure, where are they? I know you do international trips, but are the other ones mostly local into the California region? And is that where you want to grow like nationally too, is like expand adventures into other parts?
I don't know about adventures right now, because I have two businesses. I'm stretched bandwidth wise. So with Adventures, I actually would be looking to bring on a GM to help grow that business. And if it does make sense, there are some key places in the US that I would expand Adventures to, offering trips. But primarily, there's still room to grow in Yosemite. We have a pretty strong business in Yosemite. However, like I want to do more. So co-ed trips, trying to appeal to more international travelers coming here in that respect.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody out there listening is, first of all, find Alpinistas online. You don't have to be in town, obviously, to shop here, but if you are, you should, because like I said, I'm obsessed with this place. And if you like gear at all, I just think that, I don't know, like I said, you walked into REI long ago and still do, and it's pretty just blah, boring, right? Or they all look the same, right? So I just feel like if you like gear, you can appreciate just coming to a place where you feel like it was really made for you. And obviously, online, alpinistas.com if you're not in town.
The
Alpinistas.com. Thealpinistas.com.
But I'm sure it'll come up with all our Google SEO. So
yeah, totally. And Alpinistas Adventures. So what kind of trips can people look out for upcoming?
So every year we offer Kilimanjaro. We offer Everest Base Camp 2 times a year. And in Yosemite, we have backpacking 101s. So for complete beginners to learn how to backpack. We have Half Dome day hikes. We have Half Dome backpacking itineraries, typically 3 days, 2 nights. Those are our strongest trips that we offer. Yeah. So we're going to lean in heavily with those. And we run those mostly like every week, the backpacking trips every week.
In the summer, like June or what?
End of May through mid-October, depending on what our Octobers look like. But they've been pretty warm, so we run them. Oh, and also really, really important, we do, for those that don't want to backpack or do anything like hustling up Half Dome, is the women's camp and hike weekends. So these are full service, all meals. Our backpacking trips do have all meals as well, but these weekends, I don't want to call them glamping, but they're like close to glamping. So it's full service, easy hikes, unless you want to opt to do a harder hike. But this is just for people who want to explore camping in Yosemite Valley, in one of like the top campgrounds there. A really awesome full service. Those are super popular. They sell out all the time. So
that's what I was.
And we have, I just secured campsites for the end of April. So our spring kickoff will be coming out soon.
Awesome. Yeah. I feel like this is going to sound kind of bad coming from me being in the Tahoe area for over a decade and having worked on and off with you the last year, so that I've never even been to Yosemite.
That's crazy.
I know. It's like every spring and fall, I think about it, whatever, and then don't make it. And then it's, you get into the, oh my God, it's so crazy busy there. But that's also what I was going to say, is like such a good way to get in there at Yosemite is like doing a trip, because is it a lottery in general to go as a solo human, or it's just very hard to get campsites?
So one, it's nearly impossible to get campsites. We compete with everyone else. So all businesses have to compete the same way, unless you're somehow in with Aramark. So we won't talk about Aramark, and this, we'll save that for another time. And for backcountry, so for overnights, wilderness permits, yes, you also have to submit to the lottery. You need reservations. Probably they'll be doing that this year. So when you book with Alpinistas Adventures, you don't need a reservation to get into the park. You don't need additional permits because we have all the permits. You do have to pay the entrance fee to get into the park. We can't manage that. However, everything else. So we essentially facilitate your experience in Yosemite. And also we do offer private hiking tours and snowshoe tours. Especially fun in the winter season is the giant redwoods up there in Tuolumne Grove. And so if you even book a private day hike, we help facilitate your entrance into the park. So you don't have to do any special reservations or permits.
That's awesome. That's a great way for anyone who either doesn't know how to navigate that stuff, or it has no capacity to like do it, you know, you're like, I just want to go. How the hell can I just go? I can do this. So if Yosemite is on your list, definitely check out Alpinistas Adventures. And like, I need to do that personally as well. So talking to myself as well as you out there.
In the spring, I just, you should definitely go in the spring, because that's when all the
waterfalls, yes,
are like popping. Even when there's like not a waterfall, there's a waterfall.
That's
you know what I mean? It's just all.
I really want to go in the spring, and then it just usually happens that in the fall, I feel like I have more time or something, but I really don't. But that's just when I actually think about it, and I'm like, oh, but no, I would rather wait and go in the spring, as if I can't just try to do both, you know? But the spring is when I really, really want to go and see all the waterfalls. What's that
Firefall? I believe that's February. I think we're going to try to put something together for that, but I have to go work on it.
Yeah.
So, it's you know, with the Black Friday and the Christmas sales, like I'm so like you know, focused on the store, but like soon I'll be trying to put something out for Firefall, and that's like an amazing experience for people to get into the park and hopefully catch the lighting of that. So
yeah, look that up if you guys haven't heard of that or seen that, the Firefall in Yosemite. I've just seen amazing photos. I'm like, when do I I want to be there? But Joanne, it's been so awesome to catch up with you and to share the story with everybody and to learn some stuff about you that I didn't know before. And I think that, you know, I feel like I'd talk to you anytime, and we could definitely do plenty more episodes talking about who knows what, maybe just next time sharing our line dancing experience.
Oh, gosh.
But I feel like we could go into so many different rabbit holes on different topics and women in the outdoors and things. So it was great to kind of cover some bases here, though, and I hope to have you back again and share more with the good people out there listening. So remember, guys, go check out thealpinistas.com and alpinistasadventures.com. Follow along on Instagram. Instagram's just Alpinistas.
Yeah.
And Alpinistas Adventures. So give them a follow, check things out. And, you know, of course, as we always say, shop women led, shop women owned. So Alpinistas will set you up with some great stuff to get out, and great adventures too, if you need some assistance there, or just, again, want to take something off your plate and go do something without all the legwork of booking things yourself, or meet new people, right? That's a great way to get connected with new people. If you don't have that friend who can go do something with you, go do that solo trip, do a group trip where you meet new people and can hopefully create friendships that go on and continue into elsewhere. But we will chat with you guys all next week. Bye.
Thanks, Karen.
Yes, you're welcome.